Hello, welcome to our Spotlight Show. The Spotlight Show is sponsored by the cities of Farmington and Farmington Hills, the Commission for Children, Youth, and Family. Our topic today is technical careers, and we have two retired U.A.W. workers. We have John Butchee and we have Jeffrey Gardner. Both of them have long careers with Chrysler and are going to share with us their experiences and perhaps how a young person now might have a similar career. So first we're going to start with Jeff. And Jeff, why don't you tell us about your first job and then how you moved on to Chrysler?
Well, actually, I was a shipping clerk for a firm called Kellogg Bookbinding. They were located in Ferndale. I was responsible for shipping the book bindings out to the various companies. And I did that job for about 3 years. And then I heard, I believe it was a family member saying that Chrysler was hiring. So I then applied, got an application, and got hired at Monroe Engine Plant. I worked there beginning in 1965. I had various jobs. I was in miscellaneous machining, where I operated machines. From there, I got a slight promotion, if you want to call it that, as a job setter. Job setter was responsible for setting up the line so that manifolds and stuff that were ran off the line that needed to be assembled. I prepared the machines to do that. And then
They probably weren't quite so functional like they are now with all kinds of engineering, robotics,
yeah. Yeah.
A lot different.
It's a different world altogether.
Yes, it is.
But in any case, I came up the hard way, having to do things manually. But it was a good experience. It allowed me to learn a lot more about manufacturing. And then I heard that Chrysler was hiring skilled trades, apprenticeship people to get into the apprenticeship program. I applied for that. Then I took the tests. I passed the test, got into the program.
How large is the program that you took? How many people were in the apprenticeship program? At
that time, there was an influx of people applying for the apprenticeship program. Specifically for African Americans, because there was very few African Americans in the trades. So that opened up, and that was with the assistance of the U.A.W. And then got into the program along with several others, and we began our training. Our academic classes were done at Henry Ford Community College. And then we had on-the-job training where we worked with journeymen, journey persons, I should say, and learning the skill of the trade that we were going to get into.
And the title of your particular trade?
Machine repair.
It's called machine repair.
Yes. Most of the apprenticeship would require you to spend 8,000 hours or 4 years, whatever.
Wow, it's a long program.
It's a long program, but there's a lot that you have to learn. So that was the beginning of my career as a machine repairman.
Wow.
I should mention that I was the first African-American machine repairman at that particular plant to graduate.
Well, it's quite an accomplishment.
Yes.
So, John, how about your start? Where did you first start with your Social Security paycheck?
My first job was at J.O. Hudson's, and I was a stock boy, you know, and stock person, stock boy, you know, what we're going to call it, you know. And I kind of enjoyed the job, you know. It was just taking stock to different floors, opening up boxes and putting out candy in the evening and what have you. So I was going to EIT part-time. That's Electronic Institute of Technology.
And that's located where?
That was over on Woodward beside the freeway, okay?
Okay.
But it's closed for the last 25 years, okay? I guess when I left there They were in the process of closing. So it's been going for a good while. So I was going there in the evenings, and I was working at Hudson's as a stock boy. And I got home one day, and my dad said, "Son, how much you making at J.L. Hudson's?" I said, "Well, Dad, it's $50 a week." So he says, "I tell you what, I'm going to get you a job at Chrysler where you can make some money." So I said, "Hey, Dad, that's fantastic." So he got me a job there.
So he's going to charge you rent also?
And that's what, I wasn't paying no rent, okay? Yeah, so he made sure.
We got Dad's
right.
number.
So I started to work there, and I recall it, I can see it right now. I'm working on this line, putting on power steering pumps, and these things were heavy. And I saw a guy across the aisleway. He was sitting in a chair reading a newspaper. So I asked the foreman, I said, "Joe," I says, "who is that guy over there?" He said, "John, that's skilled trades. He's an electrician." I said, "I want his job." So I took the test. I passed it, okay, and they told me, "John, you probably are going to leave the plant." And I started off at East Jefferson, okay, plant. And it says, once you get into skilled trades, they're going to transfer you from this plant to another plant. So that following Monday, they told me, "John, you're out of here, you're going to Huber Foundry." And that's where I started my apprenticeship program.
At that. And then you also went to Henry Ford
I went to Henry Ford for the training.
for the training.
Right, Henry Ford for training. And you went there once a week, and that's paid training, okay? You don't lose any money once you leave the plant.
Okay.
Okay, it's paid. Okay.
And did your program also take 4 years?
The program is 4 years, and you have to accrue 575 class hours and 8,000 hours on the job training.
So one of the questions I asked you earlier, and I'll ask you for our program, is you worked for Chrysler for many years as an electrician, and with that skill, some people acquire a skill and then they move out and start their own company, or they work for a small business, or they make a different career choice once they have the skilled trade background. Why'd you stay with Chrysler?
And that's true. I stayed there because of what you just mentioned. When I got through working at Chrysler as an electrician, I worked on the outside too as an electrician. So there was no need to leave Chrysler, and then go on the outside, start a business.
Well, if you have a lot of friends and family, you end up working a lot on their electrical problems.
And that's what I'm alluding to. You know what I'm saying?
That was kind of a low-paid job, the friends
Word
and
of
family.
Are you kidding? A low-paid job.
A real low-paid.
These guys want to make you a sandwich or something. You know what I'm saying? But I thought about that. But since I got involved with Jeff, in the school programs, we were busy. We were all over the city.
Well, Jeff, why don't you talk a little bit about the school programs that you two have done over the past and what you do now?
Well, as John indicated, we were very fortunate to be a part of the World of Work program that Chrysler sponsored and that were at different plants. I was just so happens to be chosen to monitor our employees. We had 40 employees that would go into elementary, middle, and high schools and mentor and tutor. From that, John and I got involved in various projects like First Robotics, as you probably know, with the high school students, Lego Robotics with middle school. So those were some of the programs that we were able to do. It was very enlightening and very educational for us to be working with students.
Well, and today the U.A.W. is trying a pilot program for meeting young people, or apprenticeship kind of program. Isn't that a new one?
Yes, the U.A.W. is focusing on high school students is to get them interested in the skilled trades. I just recently heard a newscast on just Tuesday on CNN about the government wanting to get more people involved in the skilled trades. So this is something that we have a shortage of skilled tradespeople. So we need to begin working in the high schools to see if those students want to be interested. If they're not going to go to college, this is an opportunity for them to get into an area that's going to pay them very good money.
And so while we're talking about high school is, well, what should a student take in high school? You were talking about the math skills.
Sure. Sure.
John? All right. So they should have math skills, and what other things should they take when they're in high school? Or
Our science classes too, you know, what Jeff had.
Science classes, drafting,
Drafting.
to get some spatial relation classes if they are able to do that. I have a couple of booklets here that I'd just like to show that are very good basic books for high school students to get involved in. It has math, basic math. It has
Fractions,
fractions. It has fractions. So all of those things that are that will allow them to measure and to just enhance their math skill.
and where could they find pre-apprentice skill book?
Library.
The library will have it?
The library will have it, yes. That's one of the places. And also I would recommend, here I'm talking about mechanical aptitude and spatial relations. Here you have a number
Are they
of
like practice
diagrams.
tests for you to take?
Oh, yes. They're diagrams. And you have to know how to move things and be able to see things in a different perspective.
Well, those are very good suggestions. So then high school, you should take math, maybe some drafting. Having taught school for about 10 years, I think that attendance is really good.
Yes.
To develop a good habit of attendance and being on time.
Punctual.
Because that pattern of behavior when you're a sophomore, junior in high school, if you're late one day a week or something always happens, and I think in the job it just overflows.
It does.
Well, we saw a lot of people who, as you just indicated, were not punctual, and they were put out of the program. So
Really?
it's very important that you be attentive.
Those habits don't change.
No, they do not.
You know, it's a certain style thing, I'm afraid. And I will say, as an employer, I would look at a student's math grades, because if you were able to come to class and get it doesn't have to be an A grade, but getting a good math grade, that tells me you had enough ability to stick with something, to get it done consistently. It wasn't like a class where it was a discussion class, you didn't have any homework, you can talk about the theory of life. It was in math, you either had to have the paper done or you didn't have the paper done. And if you're machining something, it has to be right, correct?
Absolutely.
You know,
Tolerance is.
or someone's going to cut off their arm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, what do you see in the future for young people? That there'll be a lot of jobs in the skilled trade, availability for them in the future.
Everything is nowadays relies on math skills, science, in the technological area. So it's an open field for anyone that has skill sets, ability. I have always been mechanically inclined, so it was an asset for me. So it worked out very well for me, and I'm very grateful to have had the certain opportunities that were provided for me by the U.A.W.
So, one thing you hadn't mentioned is you mentioned the benefit of working at Chrysler. We talked earlier about with a big company, you have benefits that a big company can provide.
Oh, yes, we do. When you're in a big company and you want to further your education, they pay for those services there.
Which is very helpful when you have limited resources.
Absolutely. You know, so what are you killing two birds with one stone? You have a job, making money, plus you can further your education, and the company pays for that. Case in point, you know, when I was with Chrysler, and my training, they sent us to Sweden, Copenhagen, Denmark, training on robots, you know.
Hey.
So, you know, and that's another fringe benefits about being in skilled trades, because you're constantly what? Being trained.
And you're always learning the new
You're always
updates.
learning the new updates.
So that's great. Well, thank you both very much for coming with us today and sharing us your stories. And hopefully some young people will really get inspired and take more math and a little drafting.
Math, make more money.
Yeah, make more money. And we'd like to thank our viewers for joining us. If they'd like to see our show again or look at some of the other shows, you can go to the City of Farmington Hills website, click on the YouTube icon, and type in CYF, Community Youth and Family. And up will come, theirs will be first, and there'll be some other ones after that. So thank you for joining us, and watch another show. Bye-bye.